Good evening. Tonight, we begin with a story that strikes at the core of the American identity, about dreams, law, and the uncertain future of hundreds of thousands who call this country home. In a dramatic late-night move, the Supreme Court has issued an emergency ruling that directly impacts over 600,000 dreamers, people brought here as children who know no other home. The decision, delivered through the court's controversial shadow docket, has ignited fierce debate and left families in legal limbo. For more than a decade, DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, has shielded these young people from deportation, allowing them to work, study, and build lives openly. Now, that shield has been weakened, and the future for dreamers is more uncertain than ever. The ruling has sent shockwaves from Washington, D.C. to communities nationwide, raising urgent questions about justice, immigration, and the separation of powers. The world is watching how America treats those who have grown up within its borders. As reactions pour in from leaders and organizations, the stakes are high, not just for dreamers, but for the nation's character. Tonight, we break down what this ruling means for you and the country. We'll hear from those whose lives have been upended and analyze the political and economic consequences already unfolding. The Supreme Court has spoken, but the story is far from over. A national drama is playing out in real time, and its conclusion remains unwritten. To grasp tonight's news, we need to understand DACA's origins. In 2012, the Obama administration created DACA to protect undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Americans in every way but on paper. DACA was never a path to citizenship, but a temporary reprieve from deportation and a work permit, renewed every 2 years. For hundreds of thousands, it was a lifeline, opening doors to education, jobs, and a life out of the shadows. But from the start, DACA's legality was challenged. Critics called it an overreach of presidential power, arguing only Congress can change immigration law. Legal battles raged for years. In 2017, the Trump administration tried to end DACA, sparking lawsuits that reached the Supreme Court. In 2020, the court blocked the attempt to end DACA, but only on procedural grounds. The fight continued in lower courts. In 2023, the Fifth Circuit ruled DACA unlawful, but allowed it to continue for current recipients while litigation continued. This set the stage for the Supreme Court's emergency decision. The Biden administration defended DACA, while states led by Texas pushed for its end. Tonight's ruling is the latest chapter in a decade-long legal saga. The fate of dreamers now hangs in the balance. The decision that upended so many lives came not after months of debate, but through the Supreme Court's shadow docket, emergency orders issued without full arguments or explanation. States challenging DACA filed an emergency application, arguing the program caused them harm. The Department of Justice urged the court to deny the request, warning of chaos for hundreds of thousands. Just before midnight, the court voted 6-3 to lift the stay protecting DACA recipients. The order blocks the government from processing DACA renewals, setting a ticking clock on recipients' legal status and ability to work. The ruling doesn't immediately revoke current DACA status, but prevents renewals as permits expire. Reactions were swift. The White House called the decision cruel, while states challenging DACA called it a victory for the rule of law. Immigration advocates called it catastrophic, warning of families and communities at risk. The division in these reactions reflects the deep chasm this issue has carved through the American landscape. The future for dreamers is now more uncertain than ever. The Supreme Court's majority offered little explanation, typical for a shadow docket ruling. In a brief concurrence, Justice Kavanaugh argued the executive branch overstepped by creating DACA, insisting only Congress can make such sweeping immigration changes. The opinion stressed that while DACA's goals may be admirable, the court's job is to interpret the law, not make policy. The judiciary is not the forum to resolve this policy debate. Congress, not the executive, holds the power to legislate on immigration. The majority's decision places responsibility squarely on Congress, framing the ruling as a correction to executive overreach. This reflects a conservative focus on textualism and originalism, prioritizing the written law over evolving circumstances. By lifting the stay, the court has forced Congress to confront the consequences of its inaction. The legal shield is gone, The political branches must now act. In sharp contrast, the three dissenting justices issued a forceful dissent, led by Justice Sotomayor. They condemned the use of the shadow docket for such a consequential decision, calling it rushed and unjust. The dissent argued the court failed to protect over 600,000 people, acting without full deliberation or transparency. They emphasized the government's authority to exercise prosecutorial discretion in immigration and the immense reliance interests at stake. The majority's order is an unnecessary cruelty, the dissent read. It forces hundreds of thousands into fear and uncertainty. The dissent accused the majority of shattering the trust dreamers placed in the government. This powerful language underscores the deep ideological divide on the court. For the dissenters, this is not just a legal question, but a matter of fundamental fairness and human dignity. Beyond legal arguments, this story is about people. Over 600,000 DACA recipients, average age 28, who have lived in the U.S. for decades. They are nurses, teachers, engineers, and business owners, woven into communities across all 50 states. For them, this ruling is a personal crisis. As DACA permits expire, recipients face losing their jobs, income, and ability to support their families. Many are parents to U.S.-born children, now facing the threat of family separation. Maria Rodriguez, a pediatric nurse in Houston, told us, "I've spent my life trying to do everything right. This is my home. The idea I could lose my job and be sent to a country I don't know is devastating." Maria's story is one of hundreds of thousands, each a life of contribution and a dream of belonging. DACA recipients have passed background checks and met strict requirements, investing in their futures based on the program's promise. Now, the court's decision has left them in limbo. The human cost is measured in sleepless nights, anxious conversations, and shattered hopes. The uncertainty is overwhelming for families and communities. The stakes are not just legal, they are deeply personal. For dreamers, the future is now a question mark. Their lives hang in the balance. The Supreme Court's decision is also a major economic event. Removing work authorization for over 600,000 people will send shockwaves through the economy. DACA recipients work in critical sectors like healthcare, education, and technology. The loss of all DACA workers could cost the U.S. $460 billion in GDP over the next decade. Businesses, from small shops to Fortune 500 companies, rely on DACA employees and are now facing uncertainty and potential loss of talent. In healthcare alone, tens of thousands of DACA recipients serve as doctors, nurses, and aides, essential roles that are now at risk. The disruption extends to education, where many dreamers work in underserved schools. Employers must now navigate the heartbreaking process of losing valued team members. The economic impact is real, immediate, and far-reaching. To understand the wider significance, we spoke with Professor David Cole, a constitutional law expert. He explained this decision is about more than DACA. It's a statement on the balance of power between government branches. The court's conservative majority is reining in executive authority, especially on major policy questions. The use of the shadow docket to make such a sweeping decision raises questions about the court's legitimacy and transparency. The ruling could chill future presidents from using executive orders to address urgent issues when Congress is deadlocked. The court has drawn a bright line: policies of this magnitude require explicit congressional approval. Ultimately, the decision puts the ball in Congress's court, forcing a reckoning on immigration reform. The justices have ended temporary fixes, demanding a permanent solution. 600,000 lives now depend on congressional action. So, what's next? The Supreme Court's ruling has closed one door and opened another. As DACA permits expire, recipients will lose work authorization and protection from deportation, a slow-motion crisis unfolding over the next 2 years. Advocacy groups are scrambling to help, but options are limited without new laws. The Biden administration's legal avenues are narrow. All eyes turn to Congress. For over 20 years, lawmakers have failed to pass the DREAM Act or any permanent solution. The Supreme Court's decision has eliminated temporary fixes. Only Congress can act now. The political pressure is immense, with Democrats pushing for immediate action and Republicans divided. The fate of dreamers is now a central battle in the immigration debate. The coming weeks will bring intense negotiations and passionate pleas from those affected. Whether a bipartisan compromise is possible remains to be seen. This is a test of our political system and national values. We encourage you to follow Dreamer stories, contact your representatives, and stay engaged. Thank you for watching. Good night.